we go.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Rhea Gibbons, and we are here today in, I guess, another episode of Women in Conversation, talking about beauty and beauty standards in relation to social media filters and body modifications related to plastic surgery and fillers. Mm-hmm. And more than anything, we're giving from us. Well, no, we're both psychotherapists. Well, I'm a psychotherapist, Collette as well. Yes, we're both psychotherapists, and giving not just our opinions, but why we think that these things are things that we need to speak out about as women, from that standpoint, but also spiritually, how that affects us as women. Yeah. So it actually came up the other day because I posted a picture on Instagram about what the ideal Instagram nose is now, that you see, if you flip through your news feed, that there is this perfect face that we're all sort of, even if I say that, it comes into my mind. And so I'm sure it comes into a lot of people's minds who are frequent users of the platform, what that face looks like, what that nose looks like. And then in comparison, in the next slide, it showed, what noses are like on Instagram versus what noses are like in reality. Which led Collette to say to me, yeah, and that's, my nose. It is a real nose. So she's going to talk to you about what that brought up for her and the conversation we had, and why we decided to have this conversation today.
Yeah, so I'm Collette, and me and Rhea have known each other for a long time now and worked together in psychoanalysis, spiritual work, women's work, all for years, delving into the fields of the feminine and healing. And when she posted the picture, it really resonated for me because I have I'm not going to say it's an unusual, I'm just going to say it's a very normal nose. It's an ancestral nose. So I'm just going to show you my nose on the camera. It's got quite a little bump. It's quite Roman in features. And it's different actually from many in my family. And I believe it goes through my ancestry, this nose. And there has been a point where I've had an injury to the nose too, and I was offered to have it surgically changed, so to have it, the lump taken out and it made smaller, and I actually refused that surgery. I felt it would change my face too much. And it's not been hard for me because I've never really taken it deeply, but I've had many comments made about my nose. I remember somebody in Thailand offering me surgery on my nose, and then I've been to Bali where the men were like, we love your nose, because women in Bali don't have a bridge of a nose as big as mine. And so I've had both kind of camps on my nose. But when Rhea posted that picture, it really hit deep because it felt so ancestral, that post. And what Rhea had posted was pictures of like Indian women, African women, Armenian women. They were all women from different cultures. And there was just, I felt an identification with those nose shapes, with their ancestors, with their culture. And it's kind of like an honor. It's like a badge, isn't it, of honor to wear your ancestral nose. And so that really hit a chord for me. So I was grateful for seeing that post, Rhea.
I know for me, I also have this, it's not as much of a bridge as yours, but I have quite a defined nose. And when I look at my nose, I see my mom here and I see my dad. Yes. And I can almost divide my nose as a combination on equal parts of the both of them. But then I look at my grandma, and there's a photo of her for when she was about my age now, and we have the same nose. So this part of it being an ancestral piece to me also really hits home, that there's nothing about my body, my face, as much as, everybody has an idealized version of themselves. I have an idealized version of myself that I feel like warrants changing that. Because one, not living in authenticity with who I am and how I was made, down to a genetic level, because I feel it doesn't, speaking about it ancestrally, doesn't give credence to my past and to my heritage. It's as if saying that all of the things that they've been through, all of the struggles that they had, all of the things that they had to overcome for me to exist now, was not, and I don't feel like that for me is something that, especially talking about authenticity, and it's something that we've talked about a lot, and how that's so important. It would take me out of alignment with my authentic self.
Yeah.
Um,
Why do you think this is becoming an issue now? Why do you think it's, if we went back to say the 80s or the 90s, nobody would be posting pictures of real noses. So why do you think this is such an issue now?
I think because of social media, now more than ever, people are exposed to an idealized version of what is beautiful. You know, before I think it was through magazines or through TV, but now there's a bombardment. You have advertisements when you're walking down the street, you have magazines, but those are outdated. But on your phone, you can't help but see it. It's there all the time, you know. And then I'm popping up on my Instagram as advertisements for lip fillers, for brow lift filler, those augmentation.
Yeah.
And now it's easier than ever because of the way that they're doing it. But I also think that there's this, especially for my generation, you know, being 26, and for people that are younger than me, there is this idea of things happening quickly. Now in the age of technology, everything is at your hand quickly. If I order something online, I get it today.
Yeah.
And there's this, I don't like something about myself, I'm going to change it quickly. Where I was really sitting and thinking about this conversation. It's like, but that's not, you know, how often we talked about the shadow work, that the real gold doesn't come from the quick fix. It comes from the long, hard, painful work. And that, you know, at the end of the day, I equate the quick fix is the same, is the surgery, and not looking inside of myself and saying, you know what? Yeah, it really hurt to be bullied for X characteristic or Y characteristic.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about it yesterday. I was hiking, you know, I'm only taking that to heart when I give that person, really, I give that person credibility in what they're saying, you know, and I don't look into myself and try to reach that level of self-acceptance with who I am, you know?
See, the generation's different as well between you and I, because I'm coming up to my 45th birthday, and I wasn't influenced as a teenager by these things. I mean, clothes influenced us, music did, but not the faces of the people. Of course, we inspired to look like Madonna or whoever was around at that time, but not to the point that we would change the way we look. We might dress like them, and plastic surgery and things like that were just not something I was brought up with at all. I see it now for the younger generation. It's absolutely indoctrinated in them by these crazy programs, and that have celebrities that pay obscene amounts of money to be body altered and facially altered. And then that becomes an aspiration for young kids. We're not giving them other inspiration to be there, inspiring to the outward, to look out, to go, the way I look's more important than the way I feel inside or the work I do inside. And so I feel that what's happened is there's a multi-million-pound business out there, multi-billion, to make people feel bad about themselves. And this was really highlighted to me when I traveled the world. I was in Southeast Asia, and I seen billboards that were covered in women that were the polar opposite of the Southeast Asian women. So they were white skinned, green eyed, big hipped, which is the complete opposite. And then when I seen women in the supermarkets, and when I went into supermarkets, there was loads of skin bleaching products, there was clothes that made. And then you go to England, and then it's the opposite, and everyone's tanning the skin and, you know, like trying to be thin or have the big butt or whatever fashion is. And every country has this media given to them that feeds them the opposite of what they are, and it's a multi-billion-pound industry. How do you feel about that?
I feel that I'm 100% in agreement, and it does help traveling. Because I've always been on the curvier side, it was a struggle for me to be in England, because, as you said, you know, it's searching for that being slim, that slim figure. When I was living in England, the big butt wasn't in fashion, and I have a Caribbean woman's. My descendants are West African. I have the body of that, you know, people from that area. And the difference in how I was treated when I went to China, and I have green eyes and my skin is tan and I have the blonde hair and it's curly, they were like, what is
Yes.
And it helped my confidence, because I was like, okay, like that's just how I'm perceived in one place, but how you're perceived when you go to different part of the world is completely different. And it's so subjective, but at the same time, it does have to do very much with that programming. Who are the celebrities and the characteristics of those people that are widely viewed in the area that you live in, who's considered to be famous or to be successful and considered to have a life that you are supposed to aspire after. And it has so much to do with how people are influenced. Again, going back to social media, you know, it's really interesting because there are women my age who are very much about women's empowerment, but then they're supporting women who, you know, besides the fact that, you know, when you become a celebrity, you've already sold out to one sort of programming, but you're also selling yourself to program other people.
Yes.
You know, using yourself as a beacon for programming.
Yeah.
And you know, I see them supporting these women who have had so many augmentations who don't look real. She gets the bag, she gets money, da da da, and it's like, that's great, yeah, but also, where is the real? And this not being able to age, and this not being able to get bigger or to take up space, you know. And you know, saying that nowadays in fashion is the lots of hip, lots of butt, but also you don't have that, that's also okay. Yeah. You know, that doesn't make you any less woman. And it's just that at the end of the day, your body is how your body was made to be. You eat for your body, you exercise for your body, you take care of your body as a temple that it is, but that's the realness, and not running after the appearance of somebody else who doesn't even look like that because of filters, because of makeup, because of contouring, because of fillers, because of liposuction surgery, implants, you know. And then people are surprised when they do these things and it has negative outcomes, that they're, you know, like the silicone and breast implants and how it can cause illness, and getting fillers removed, fillers migrating to other parts of their body. I remember women getting getting butt augmentations a few years ago in Brazil, and then having like really horrible reactions, some woman dying. And it's like, just because our bodies aren't made for that.
No. And I always feel as well, like the energy it takes, you know, like when we work in with parts of us that are like obsessive, say, and the body type can be really obsessive, can't it? It takes a whole lot of energy. So I always see these poor girls, you know, that are all trying to conform to a certain look, and the amount of energy and money that takes, and those two things are being stolen from them, the energy and the money. So we're going to see like a rise in girls that have like all this beauty modification done, that won't own their own homes, or if that's what they want, or their own, like they don't follow the dreams because they're disempowering themselves. Their energy is going to go, what do I look like now? I need my hair. And you know, I can't say that I've not been there. I have been obsessed with the way I looked, with what clothes I wore and all of that, and it took a profound amount of energy, which left it not be able to do anything else. You know, looking at dreams and ambition and career and what I was going to do, all of those things got put to the side. And I see that that's what's happening. It becomes the thing that they spend my money on. And I see and know a lot of girls that are having fillers and Botox, and that's where their money is going.
And they're taking credit cards and looking for loans, and it's like, that's, but at the end of the day, it's to please other people. Yeah. Because even if you lie to yourself and say, well, it's because I want to look this way because then I'll feel good about myself, it's not. You think you will like yourself because you think other people will like you, you know. And I've been there. When I got to my smallest, I was a size 2, and I still wasn't happy with how I looked.
Nope.
And I was like, well, shit. You know? Yeah. Well, now that's something, you know. And just it's not that. And that's why you see people who do end up getting addicted to plastic surgery, because one thing isn't enough. Then it's the next thing, and then it's the next thing, and then it's the next thing. Yeah. Until when? You know, because that is not out there. It's this in here.
Yeah, I think it's a big addiction cycle, isn't it? And because we do therapy, let's not dismiss what we feel might be what is underneath all this need to change the way we look, to adapt beauty, to conform to like a particular image in your culture, society, or where you live. And that's a deep unhappiness with the self. Yep. And so if you, in therapy terms, if I take somebody back, say, who is like addicted to having plastic surgery, or that you take them back to the not liking themselves, and that may have started in childhood, like a comment that was made. I have an issue with like having my photograph taken because I remember being told as a child that I wasn't photogenic. So every time I look at a picture, like that's an implanted impression that I put upon pictures, is that I'm not photogenic. So I have this deep like pain. So if you've been told you're fat, or if you've been told any of those things, like your nose is too big, or your eyes are too small, or your ass isn't big enough, for example, it's going to have a deep rooted impact on you that manifests in behavior. So like, you know, this as well with the therapeutic work that you've done on yourself. You know, this is a journey we've done on ourselves as well as we do with other people. So can you describe how that was emotionally for you?
I think for me, a lot of it emotionally is rooted in shame and unworthiness and this deep needing to feel accepted. And feeling like, you know, if I didn't do those things, I wasn't worthy of love, I wasn't worthy of a partner, I was just not worthy, you know. And then for me, where it came from is, as a child, I went through a lot of bullying for being overweight. And ironically, that also, you know, had another emotional root for me.
Yes.
But then it takes on another layer to it, because then you have the shame of people telling you, well, you're overweight and you need to change yourself and there's something wrong with you, instead of, you know, the sensible thing would have been like, well, what happened for Rhea to gain weight as a child? You know, what happened for, and it's that disconnect. Again, it's so much more looking at the outside and not looking at how your emotional health also forms a very important part of your global health as a person.
Yeah, yeah.
And when I talked about it with my therapist pointed it out to me in a way that was so sensible and so, I was like, oh yeah. She was like, you know, when you don't feel like you're safe, you often put on a layer to keep yourself protected.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. So here I am beating myself up, and my body's really just trying to do what it knows, you know. And going back to that genetic piece or that ancestral piece we were talking about, sure, a lot of my ancestors came across the Atlantic Ocean on boat, and putting on weight would have been a way for them in a stressful situation to make sure that they were going to live, because they had fat deposits.
Yeah.
So, you know, for me, that's how my body knows to take care of itself. That's how my body, we're going to get this stressful situation because we can do it. We've done it before. And so, you know, that brought me into a peace of acceptance, and that, you know what, body, thank you for trying to work with me. I get that this is not the easiest situation we've been through, but I see you not as an enemy, but as my temple that's trying to take care of me and protect me. And it's not the easiest thing. And for me, it is one that, you know, I do ruminate on, especially being in my mid to late 20s now. It's, my body is changing, and my body's changing as I move the mother archetype, as I step into my woman. And I realized yesterday that I need to stop worrying about taking up space.
Yes. Yeah.
Why am I worried about getting bigger and taking up space? That's fine. I just need to go get bigger pants. So today I took on a lot of
Yeah, and you know, like I've taught about this in the womb work I've done. Like we've had someone said to me that one of the like disempowered wombs are always very flat, and I have a similar story to you, but mine's in the reverse. I was always very low weight, and you know, I wouldn't not eat. I've always had a very good appetite, but I'd always overwork or overdo or over exercise. That was my go-to in stressful situations. And I remember someone posting, you need to put on weight and eat cake. Somebody put on my Facebook profile once, which really upset me. I was having a really hard time. I was in a relationship that was breaking up for that, you know, and my go-to is, some people will overeat, I'll probably undereat and over-exercise in those situations. So we're all working from these wounds, aren't we? We're all behaving according. And the same, once I discovered my ancestry, like I'm from Irish heritage where there was potato famines, I like to hoard food. I hate being without food. My food cupboards have got to be full. And so we can see these patterns, and aren't they empowering to see why? You know, there was the place where I wanted to stay young forever. I remember a particular time when I had the yoga studio, I wanted to remain young, and I was denying like the mother crone archetype in me, because this is something I teach with women as well, how we can neglect and collectively, and I've been teaching this in the Blue Rose course recently, collectively, women are stuck and stifled and sold to in the maiden archetype. The mother archetype means we're protective, we're powerful, we know who we are, we know where we're going, we're creators, we're birthers, we're taking up as much space as possible. And so it's not wanted, neither's the crone. That's why we hate wrinkles, that's why we hate grey hair and all the things that remind us. So we get women who are in the crone still dressing and trying to keep their body shape like a maiden because there's some deep emotional work to do there.
And I think that also goes back to the cultural programming. Like, for example, Shakira and Black Eyed Peas came out with a song the other day. Don't you tell me that you're looking for a girl like me. It's super catchy, but Shakira is in her 40s, in her 50s.
You ain't no girl.
Not
Yeah.
And I was looking through comments on YouTube to see if anybody was like, that's a little bit of a strange lyric. And somebody said, well, a girl. It's like,
Yeah.
You know,
It's
idea
forever.
forever.
We have no true like aging mothers and elders, and that worries me for our future generations, like our young girls who are 18 and 19. I do a deep exercise in some of my groups with women that we look at aspirational crones or mothers, and we take parts of people that we find inspirational and we put them together to kind of manifest the archetypal mother or the archetypal crone, because our world's been depleted of it. Like I think about who my childhood's like go to was. I used to love people like, Madonna, and and I'll use her for example, and now I'm looking at her and she's like completely modified. She's trying to look 10. She's stuck in a youth, and I can see that process is been indoctrinated in it, but there's a lot of emotion behind that as well. And it's very, very sad that we as women, we gain power as we get older. We gain power and wisdom, and it's not being allowed.
No, and I think that that's why there's such a push to disempower women and get them stuck in the maiden, because then they're easier to control, because then they're easier to manipulate, because then it's easier for men, it's easier for us to be made to spend money, because we're stuck in this feeling of, oh, I'm getting older, oh, my body's getting curvier, what can I do to change this? And it's, if we all just accepted the natural course of aging, which is the normal thing for a human body, we would be so much happier.
Yeah.
We would spend less money on things that really aren't necessary, because it's taking us out of what it means to be human. And at the end of the day, it is looking at death and the decay of the human body, and unfortunately that's natural, but the soul is forever, and that's where the real gold is, and taking care of also the inner work, and not looking for the easy way out and for the easy solution to when we feel that unworthiness, when we feel that shame, when we feel that sadness, when we feel, wow, that person really attacked me about something that I was really quite sensible about.
Yeah.
No,
it is. It's a control mechanism, and I've always said this. When you've been in a course that I've taken about the flat stomach and not allowing the womb to protrude, and the womb, if she takes up more energetic space and grows, has more power and more space to work in a woman. And the same with plastic breasts. I mean, I know with all the sacred tantric sexuality work that I've done, is that putting 2 pieces of plastic in the breast, and they're connected to the mother energy more than anything else, also stops the heart energy. So I remember a teacher saying to me, if you notice that women with breast implants will have like some emotional deep rooted heart energy problem, or wound that's made them put these, and then they'll attract the masculine probably with big pecs because he's armoring up the same. So it's all a deeper symbology if we can just take a stop, and that's really why this discussion is important, to say to young girls, why are you so obsessed with the way you look? Who are you trying to copy? Who's telling you that this is the way you should look? And for me, and I see it with my family, and in the family, the younger girls, like this Kardashian for me, in my culture in England, I'm living in France, it's not the same here, but you know, and maybe in America it's like that. I mean, you're from Bermuda, so you may have a different ideal, but this Kardashian look, this long black hair, these big lips, the tiny nose, the big breast, the tiny waist, the bum and the hips, and I see that that is like a directive, and all girls are starting to look the same. What do you see and feel within your kind of cultural impressions?
That one of two ways. It goes both ways. One, for women who naturally have that body type, who in the past, you know, when in the 90s and the early 2000s, being stick skinny and the super low rise jeans and the flat stomach was a trend.
Yeah.
They now feel more empowered in a way that they feel like their body type is accepted.
Yes. Yeah.
Which on the one hand is a positive,
yeah.
But on the other hand, at the end of the day, it's still a trend.
Mm-hmm.
And bodies are not trends.
Yeah.
You know, these augmentations that come with trying to fit into a trend, when the trend changes, what are you going to have to do to feel like you belong and like you're acceptable? In general, though, I think that it does have a ramification in terms of people who don't have that body type naturally. You know, you see more people going to the gym and trying to lift heavy weights, and well, I'm not saying don't go to the gym or don't work out or don't do what makes you happy, but at the same time, at the end of the day, it's still rooted in one way or another. You're trying to augment your body to get this idealized version of who you think you should be to be acceptable. And no, it's not surgery, and no, it's not implants or fillers, but it's the same thing, because the idealized version of you still comes from that program version of the Kardashians. And you know, you can trace it back for when that image started appearing on social media, you know, when Kim started to become super famous, and the ideal body type changed.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting, but it's only interesting being 26 and being able to remember the early 2000s and late 90s and seeing that it is just a trend.
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite teachers, Carolyn May, said similarly that she was brought up in the Twiggy era, and she said Twiggy has more to answer to for women's anorexia and illness and body obsession than any other woman she knew during that period. And I think there's always, like, collectively an icon that's used to make us feel bad about ourselves and to spend a whole lot of money, whether that's going to the gym, on a diet program. There's big companies that profit from giving us a distortion.
I agree.
So it'll change again. There'll always be somebody that we're looking at and saying, oh well, that's the most perfect, whether that be, you know, Marilyn Monroe or whoever it is, and it will be generally, and I've always said this, like the Marilyn types and like the kind of blonde, it's less of the whole world, isn't it? The whole world doesn't look like that. The minority could look like that. So there's always that dysmorphia of, because most people are brown eyed, you know, let's not have the brown eye, dark skin. Let's do the opposite, and whole people will move towards that. So yeah, it's pretty sad that there's always someone using. It's not to be horrible about Kim Kardashian, because I feel that she's been used as well as a scapegoat for all of this. You know, she's got a lot of money to be that person that has created billionaires, basically billionaires.
I think the other thing is that it's one thing to augment your body to like that idealized version, but then on the flip side of the coin, God forbid that you were born with that body with the big lips and the big hips and a big butt and ample breasts and dark skin. You know, that's the other, where it's like, well, hold on a minute, you know, these are women who are naturally this way, but they've been ridiculed for their whole life for being the way that supposedly the rest of the world is supposed to want their bodies. And so it's just this, at the end of the day, you know, if that doesn't prove that it's just done to keep women out of their power and feeling inferior and not stepping into their fullness, their wholeness, their wisdom, their self-accepting, then I don't know what is. You know, at the end of the day, if you follow those trends, it will never be good enough.
No, never, never. And I seen a black woman speak about this the other day. She said, she went through years of her body type being kind of the non-norm. There was nothing she could do to change her body type to fit in with the 90s, the Kate Moss kind of skinny. And so she said that, now it's the reverse and her body's like revered, but it's at a detriment. She thinks she's been over sexualized, and so there's always these flips, isn't it, that people feel when the body types being, sold out, as I would say, prostituted. We come into the prostitute energy. So I wanted to talk about as well, because we could be here for hours talking about all of this, can't we? About we talked about fillers and how easy they are now to get. And me and you had a little discussion, didn't we, about, like the toxicity and the unknown long-term effects that these may have on people. And you know a little bit more about this, so just shed some information about those things.
I don't know too much.
Not
I've
that you're
just,
a scientific expert.
terms of, in terms of breast implants, there's breast leaking. In the silicone can cause autoimmune disorders. It can basically provoke changes because it's not a natural component of your body.
Yeah.
And so your body can go through this rejection process. The same with the fillers.
Mhm.
And because it's not something that people are used to putting their bodies on a regular basis, the outcome of what could potentially happen is never known.
Yeah.
And I remember we were all mortified and disgusted, not really the word, but kind of like, whoa, when we found out about people starting to do the fillers in their butt and how it actually, it started to like eat the tissue, and this lady ended up having to get amputated. But basically just that there's no, and I mean, it's one thing to say, well, you go to a specific medical doctor and they'll do it in a place where it's sterile and they know what chemicals are going in there and they use the components that's supposed to. But even then, it's not a surgery that's a necessity.
No.
A long term, and there is no guarantee how your body's going to react to it over a long term.
No, there's no scientific results, is there, what those chemicals do inside the body over a length of time?
No. And I think, like, especially silicone, is supposed to be something that's acceptable for the human body, but I don't, especially because these processes are relatively new. We don't have 50 years of information of what it's going to be like in a long term and what effects it's going to have. And so I would just advise anybody to.
Yeah. I think the thing for me is with, like, we were talking about the filters on Instagram as well, and how and I want to just talk about parenting, eventually get to parenting, like how can we help this and what can we do, because that will be helpful as we round up. But with these filters as well, like there is a programming in these filters on Instagram and Facebook that take away our wrinkles and make our eyes look bigger and our lips look bigger. And I was watching somebody share about the neuroscience of that, and especially now because we're more online because of what's going on in the world, is that we're starting to see this perfect, flawless face. And again, it's augmented to those big eyes, small nose, big lips, kind of triangular face shape that seems to be the wanted look. And blue eyes and blah green eyes. And so what happens is these media images are all out there, and when we actually see faces, we're going to be like, oh god, they're wrinkly, or oh wow, that nose is big.
Of course.
And so they're saying it's actually affecting a part of our brain that's going to find it hard to synthesize a normal face without feeling disgust or contempt for it.
I think the incidences of body dysmorphia are definitely on the rise, whether it's been something that's been actually recorded or not. I think it would be impossible if you spent a amount of hours on your phone taking selfies a day, looking at that idealized version of yourself, like mine, they're airbrushed, later start to modify them on Photoshop or whatever, however you want to edit them so that it looks even more airbrushed. I think it would be impossible for you to look in the mirror and see the regular version of yourself and say, am, you know. And like you said, you've just given the neurological reason for that. But you know, but I think that excessive exposure to that idealized version of yourself then makes it even more difficult to accept when the wrinkles come, especially as you start to age. You know, to accept the cellulite when the version that you post of yourself is airbrushed, but then also to feel like when you go in public, that you can even show that regular version of yourself. You know, that people aren't going to criticize you for those things. Oh, that's not the post photo she posted online. And again, I think that creates shame, because it's not accepting who you are. What you're putting out into the world really, at the end of the day, isn't you.
Yeah.
You
And this
know?
is having a whole impact on our future girls. That's what I can't help but feel. And I know that if I had a daughter, I'd probably take all magazines. I mean, I don't have a TV. I'd take all magazines off. I'd take all social media off her. I'd lock her in an ivory tower. I'm joking. But I would really try to speak to her in detail about like what we're having now, just the conversation about why these things are out there and what the truth about them are, because I don't think parents speak to their daughters about that. They might say a flippant comment, you know, like, oh, bloody hell, state of her, or something negative, but they might never discuss really in detail about the implications of surgery and hating your body and the ancestral piece that we talked about. Look, this is what your grandmothers and your forefathers look like, and you hold that and you should be proud of that. And you know, there's all this money being made out of making you unhappy and power. If these discussions were had with children, then we might have a different world, mightn't we? Because I know that adults, if you ever I remember trying to discuss about breast implants on one of my posts, and obviously it triggered a lot of women, and I understand why, because they had breast implants and they didn't want to hear what was being said. Because as we get older, we're less, our ego's bigger, and we don't want to go there. We don't want to admit those things because we've made a poor choice, or we've made a choice that we didn't really weren't educated about. So it's about getting to the younger generation, isn't it?
I think so. I think especially like it's a really important job for parents, especially moms, because it's when you get older, it's coming from a lived perspective. You've been there. You know, I think for me specifically, it was hard because I felt like that was a piece that a lot of criticism came from my grandma. And I love my grandma. I understand that that's the time period that she grew up in, that women were supposed to be a certain way. You know, you're supposed to have your hair done. You're not supposed to be too big. You're also not supposed to be too skinny. What haven't you you know, I've had comments about being too big and comments about being too skinny, and I was like, well, I mean, here we are. And I find that, you know, especially coming from other female family members or female friends, it hurts more to hear those things about you that are criticisms about your physical aspect. Then I say it would coming from men. And I feel like, you know, as women, as female family members, we have, that is a role for us that's super important, and speaking out about that honestly, because I feel like that sort of internalized misogyny where we're taking that, you know, we're policing other women on their, you have to be like this, or you should be like this, or, you know, you're not up to the standard. We enforce it more on one another and how we pick on one another as women than men do for us. And I feel like if we were all to women as women together collectively say, stop, you don't have any power over this, and we're not going to enforce it on one another. And I feel like it would change the world, especially with the next generation, to say, look, as my daughter, you're beautiful. You were created as you are. You're beautiful inside, you're beautiful outside, and anybody who has anything different to say is wrong. You know, and having this honest conversation about how the world tries to prime us, and how the world, in terms of the media, in terms of the I guess the big beauty machine, tries to poop us out all the same way and give us all these contours and make us need all these products, and that it's not true, and that we don't have to buy into it, and that we don't have to buy in it to be a woman or to be feminine or to that none of those things, we don't have to consent to that.
and breaking out of your cultural chain as well, like, you know, that black skin's beautiful, white skin's beautiful, like olive skin's beautiful, and people find different things attractive. Red hair, bent noses, straight noses, little noses, big bums, little bums, like it's all accepted. It's all accepted because in our uniqueness we attract somebody who loves us as we are for all those attributes. And if we're changing, we're going to attract people that love us for the false attributes, and that's only going to lead us, you know, we get damaged meeting damaged, or worthy unworthiness meeting unworthiness, rather than someone just saying, you know what, I love everything about you as you are. And I think that's been more important to me as I've got older, is that I felt that the more false I was and the more I aspired to look a certain way, I attracted people in my life that were also that way. And actually, when it became more natural, cared a bit less, I still like to look nice on a cake. It doesn't happen very often because I'm always, you know, and stuff here. But on the odd occasion, I might put a bit of mascara on, like on these interviews, and a nice top. I feel nice, and there's nothing wrong with feeling nice. And that's got to be done in your own skin, recognizing, oh, you know, I've had to put my eyeliner on twice because my eyelids are now drooping and it smudges them. And I laughed as I was doing it because I was like, I've got this recording and here I am like lifting this eye. Like, that never happened 10 years ago. But it's kind of it's sharing these things and normalizing them. And I think I know that how energy works. When you've got a collective of big energy that's all impressing the same thing on someone, if they see one example of something good, it's not enough. So we need to like make this image where we've got young girls that have got, like, I know I have a lot of mixed race friends that have this liberation. They get to a certain age and they start to like love themselves a little bit more, and they let the curly hair come out.
Like my
And
mom.
yeah, and it's like a liberation to say, like, I'm going to let my curls out, but I'm not going to straighten it anymore because I've been conforming. And just those things that you see your friends liberating, like they might stop dieting and just put a bit of weight on, and you're like, great. It's a sign of accepting the self. And it's a shame, I think, as it gets, time goes on, it's going to be later, if at all, that women actually do that.
Mm.
You know, I see these videos of 70-year-olds who are bodybuilders and they're being congratulated, and I'm like, there's nothing to congratulate, like, with that. Yeah, fair enough if it's like stimulating a mind and giving her power and all of this, but not because she looks like a bodybuilder at 70, because that's not empowering to me. This whole bodybuilding thing is very masculine, and that's why it's being pushed on women. So yeah, we've just got to come to, you know, I want pictures of the old granny in the cottage in the woods with the grey bun and the wrinkly skin back. You know, these were the inspirational elders. So where are our inspirational elders? And that's like my generation to lead. And I know that you're like trailblazing as a 20-year-old in the 20s and really putting that out there. And I've said to you loads, haven't I, Rhea? You should be out there more and more and more and getting to women, because you've had such a journey on both ends of the polarity, and you've done a lot of healing work in your 20s to be able to start to come to a place. And I followed you for, you know, I've worked with you for how many years now, and to see you as this woman that accepts herself more, and I can hold testimony for that because I've seen it, I've been around you, and how all of this has gone full circle for you to say, do you know what, I just accept me. And I'm not saying you fully accept yourself, because who does, but on the whole you've become more loving to yourself and accepting. Is that right?
It is. I realize, like, now more than ever, like, why I spent a lot of time punishing myself through eating, punishing myself through exercising. And now I'm just like, if I don't feel like doing it, I don't feel like doing it. And if I feel like that cake, I feel like that cake. And there's also an aspect of me where I need to make sure that it's not emotional. I need to make sure that I'm not eating that cake because I'm sad or I'm angry, and I need to, you know, and making sure that I deal with it. But in terms of punishing myself through food and through exercise, I'm past that, because I just feel like that's not what my body needs from myself. That's not what it means to be loving.
Yeah.
And, you know, there are days that are harder than other, especially now as summer approaches, and, you know, I've put on a bit of weight over the winter, and it means wearing clothes that are shorter or arms out, you know, there is that aspect of me. And then, you know, a couple of days ago, I was in a hotel room and I looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, dang, okay, I see all these curves. And I was pretty pleased. And I was like, what is wrong with you? Here you are beating yourself up because you gained a little bit of weight, but you look fire. Look at all that.
Great.
So just the only thing I can attribute it to is that I'm just becoming a woman, and my body's making it's making preparations for when I eventually have kids. And there's nothing, I don't need to stop that. There's nothing wrong in that. That's just the natural process of things.
Yeah.
And in coming to that realization, you know, and not making myself smaller because I feel like I could be more lovable theoretically or more acceptable, or, you know, slot myself into a box, that it's just, I'm just okay as I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think you've hit on something really important, which I speak to people about in my work, is like the choices you make. Like, what are your intentions behind those choices? Like you say, eat the cake if like you're out with, but don't eat the cake if you're so sad that you're hiding your emotions behind it. So have this done. If you, I mean, a lot of people say, oh, I have this surgery done because it makes me feel better about myself. But that question should be, well, why don't you feel good as you are? What is it? Because if you can get under that, you know, I worked with a girl who wanted to get breast implants. We had a session, and underneath that was a really deep broken heart, which is heart energy is all around here. So if we have any like adaptation here, it's to do with the heart. And there was a deep heartbreak, and just a lot of past issues with her having small breasts and feeling inadequate. And you know, I talked to her about my sacred sexual journey. I was extremely flat chested to the point that I was like, had nothing at all but a nipple. And when I started to work with my heart energy and work with breast energy, my breasts grew. They did grow. And it's the same with like the flat stomach. It was when I was out of my womb power, and then my stomach rounded when I got in my womb power. So it's the intention. It's not the same for everyone. What is your intention? Why are you doing that? And if you can answer that honestly with yourself, it might change that choice. And our choices are so important because your choices can be empowered or disempowered. So it's what it is, that's what it leads you to. So the choice of how you make yourself beautiful and why is really important. Ah. So I think we can round up there, and I hope that we can do another little chit chat soon, can't we? About something
I
else.
agree.
Maybe you share another meme that's powerful, and I go, yeah, let's talk about that.
I
So
would like
yeah,
that.
conversations, and Rhea, just the same for you. Like, you know, just holding that space for those 20-year-olds, that where you're rocking it and taking it to the next level of self inner work, psychoanalytical work, and psycho self work, and psycho spiritual work, which you've been doing. So thank you for coming on this call.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. It wasn't really me hosting it. I was just like, it was like a mutual thing, wasn't it? So let's thank each other for the call, and hope that this touches some chords with women. And both of us are open to speaking to anybody that feels they might want to talk. We've both got experience in therapy with body, with sacred sexuality. So if you want to get in contact with us, then we'll leave some links under this video, and you can contact either me and Rhea, or even just leaving comments under this video that might help other women, or just express your opinion. That'd be really useful.
The last thing I wanted to say before we left, because it's been on my mind and then leaving and then coming back and then leaving, is that specifically in terms of feminism, you know, I hear a lot about this. Well, a woman should be free to do whatever she wants with her body, and that's her. And it is, but it goes back to what you said about empowered choices and disempowered choices. And I think as women, and as women who are doing the work and who are trying to usher in this age of authenticity in ourselves and in other women and in the next generation, it is so important to call out disempowered choices, and when we see the shadow behaviors, to make them known, not because we want to put ourselves over other women or feel better than other women, or or we want to belittle other women, but because we want other women to stand in their authenticity, to stand in their wholeness, and to not feel that they have to sell themselves out, to the machine to become lovable or acceptable, or that it and it's not about that. It's not about bringing somebody down for their choices. It's about helping them to step into awareness of why they're making those choices, and what energy they're feeding in making those choices.
Yeah, I mean, we've both been through, it's not like we're standing here from a related point of view. We still go through all these things every day. These, do I get this? I sat there the other day going, oh, do I buy that new face cream that's going to do this or that? It's not from a place of judgment. It's literally what we've been through and the choices that we've made and the places where we've not loved our body and been offered those things. I was offered the breast implants and I refused them. I did think about it at the time, and then so it's not like you say, it's a process we've been through, that we've come to talk to be able to get to this point. If women are out there and just don't know why they feel so disempowered about the way they look, then this may just shine some light on it. So until next time, sister.
See you soon, hopefully.
Love you. Bye.
Loving you too. Bye.